Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to today's stream. Apologies on it being a little loud. I will need to go ahead and fix that for y'all. Yeah, it got way louder. That's fine over there. Work over here. Oh, that's too much. Should be this. That's decent enough right there. For recording at least. All right. I need to redo at least 2 stories. Yep. Definitely that one. And then that one. But I really want to do this one. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. Okay. And with that, let's go ahead and start recording. Welcome, Outlaw. Go ahead and have a seat. Yeah, great. Starting with this crap again. Welcome, Outlaw. Go ahead and have a seat, and I'll tell you. Welcome, Outlaw. Go ahead and have a seat, and I'll tell you today's story. I was a music journal. I think the title could be a little bit different on this one. This title might sound better. Be careful with what music you listen to. Original title is on the description. Written by Speedwagon is Afraid. I don't know if you know this, but if you're a student and aching for some money, freelancing as a music journalist is a reasonably sweet deal, especially if you focus on the concerts. The workload is manageable. You see a lot of bands you wouldn't otherwise, and You see a lot of bands you wouldn't otherwise, and even though the payment isn't too great, it's alright for what you're doing. Plus, you usually get pretty good seats for concerts. You need a bit of luck to get into it, but if you manage to do so, I can only recommend you give it a shot. Back when I did it, I wrote for a small magazine which had a focus on the alternative side of music. Given my musical taste, I was mostly paneled to attend gothic and heavy metal shows, which honestly were a lot of fun. They are, of course, all the Marilyn Manson and Metallica knockoffs, but a lot of experimentation is going on, even though few of them actually got anywhere. I cover everything, from cover bands to experimental stuff that never made it big. I mostly saw them when they were well known enough to be worth writing about, but still kind of underground. Some of those bands got quite far, actually, and one of the bands I wrote about you probably know if you're into metal. But that's not what I'm here to write about. Back then, they suck, let me tell you. Other bands were far more interesting. Sometimes there's experimental bands, the kind of bands that defies the traditional. Sometimes there's experimental bands, the kind of band that defies the traditional lineup. Maybe uses 3 guitars or 2 drums. Maybe doesn't have a singer or decide to skip the bass guitar in favor of a taiko drum. Yes, that happened. They can be a hit or a miss, really, and most of it depends on the execution and dedication of the band in question. And then, there's the really weird stuff. Bands who just don't defy tradition, but outright crush every notion you have about music. These never made it big, but they make for a good article, and you can always one-up those hipsters friend of yours. Whenever someone claimed to have seen something like, Whenever someone claims to have seen something like, I never seen that. Whenever someone claims to have seen something like, I've never even thought about, I usually tell them of that one time I saw a band that made music using old tape recorders and rubber bands, or had lyrics written in a language that they invented themselves, and instead of CDs sold booklets about how to learn said language. I never told them about Gumpa though, and I never will. That shit haunts me. This was shortly before I intended to quit this job anyway. Since my final exams were coming up, and I wouldn't have time. since my final exams were coming up, and I wouldn't have the time or the need to work on the side. But still, I had some concerts I had promised to attend, and while I should. But still, I had some concerts I had promised to attend, and while I knew I should start studying for my exams, a bit of fun couldn't hurt, I reasoned. I had made a habit about researching the bands I would cover next, so that I know what to expect. After all, if I expected somber music to peacefully fantasize to and go... After all, if I expected somber music to peacefully fantasize to, and got trash metal that inspired mosh pits, that will tarnish my reviews. Also, I have to dress apart. Ever tried getting into a gothic club dressed in metal attire? You get in, but some of the looks you get could kill small animals. But I digress. The odd thing was nothing really turned up for Gompo. Their logo looked like the archetypical black metal shtick. Barely readable, and that's the way they wanted, obviously. They played in a small club not far from where I live that was known to host some of the more hardcore bands and regularly had people roughing each other up. But that was it. No set list, no albums. Even those underground sites I usually use for reference when all else fails were sparse with information. Well, no matter. They probably had their first real gig and knew the owner or something. All the better to milk it for a bit of extra cash if they turn out to be decent. A true diamond in the rough. So I went with my usual hardcore metal outfit and to the club. Inside the club, the usual crowd had gathered. Metalheads of every color, from the large, bulky types to the lanky and acne-ridden. Long hair was prevalent, of course, as well as the smell of beer, whiskey, and questionable hygiene. Not many women in sight, and those few who were seemed to have full-on flock of bodyguards. I went and got myself a beer to hype myself up while I inspected the stage. Gompo was set to play in about half an hour, so I had plenty of time to observe their lineup. Nothing too special though. A set of drums, the bass drum showing the same indecipherable lettering that had come up during my research. 2 guitar stands, 1 microphone, everything hooked up and ready to go. From the way the guitar stands and the microphones were arranged, I figured they have a bass guitar, a guitarist, and a singer who focus on singing, not playing the guitar on the side. Already an important observation to make beforehand, since this will make him able to engage more with the crowd. Always a good thing to have. I asked around, but the more I did, the more I understood. Nobody in here really knew about the band. Sure, some people had done a bit of research like me, but they have found about as much or less. They were curious, however, or just didn't care about the band that was about to play. This reassured me about my theory that Gompo probably knew the owner of the bar or someone close to them and was using this location to test the waters. Not the worst move. If they wanted a tough crowd, they certainly find it here. This location was known to attract a certain breed of metalhead. The kind that isn't opposed to a mosh pits going a little out of hand, if you know what I mean. Lost in thought about this, I only realized that the light had dimmed as someone pushed me aside to get a better glimpse. I only realized that the light had dimmed as someone pushed me aside to get a better glimpse at the stage. The background music had ceased as well. All I could hear was excitement muttering and scrambling. The first thing I noticed when the band entered the stage was the singer. He had to be the singer, really, because every other position would not suit him. He outshone the other band members up to the... darn it. He outshone the other band members up to the point that I cannot even remember them too vividly, as I was captured by him. The drummer, I remember, was of Indian descent, but otherwise I remember very little. The singer was huge. Face to face, he would have towered me up. The singer was huge. Face to face, he would have towered me, and I'm 6'1". But on the stage, he looked even bigger than that. He was heavily built too, with a prominent belly and round face. His skin was almost the color of soot, and had a look about it that I can only describe as coarse. He didn't seem to sweat. His skin as dry as a dune. But the thing that really set him apart was his smile. When he got up to the microphone, he smiled at the crowd like he wanted to swallow them up, and his teeth seemed like those of a shark, fit for the job of devouring an entire crowd to fill that enormous belly. The band had already taken their positions, but the usual holler and cheers did not start. You could have heard a fly buzzing. Nobody even daring to move, like the first one to capture the attention of the mighty singer will be the first to quench his hunger. But then, the music started. And man, when I said it started, it really started. There was no warm-up, no lame-ass introduction, no 1, 2, 3, 4 accompanied by the smacking of drumsticks. They simply started their first song, and it began with a deep, guttural growl that I cannot compare to any other of the singers out there, for that will be unfair to them. You can train your voice all you want, but you'll never come near the sound of an earthquake. Gumpo's lead singer, however, did, and I could feel the ground rumbling under. Oh boy. And I could feel the ground rumbling under my feet as he threw out this growl that the band carried with their instruments into a fast-paced composition that instantly turned the crowd from awestruck to whip into a frenzy. A mosh pit erupting well before the second verse. I never wrote that article about Gumpo, but if I had, it would have read something like this. Even after Oh boy. Even after only 2 songs, Gumpo already had the audience where other bands take a whole evening to get them. They're going wild, dripping with sweat and shoving each other around whatever room they have. Nobody's staying still. Every move to the... Nobody's staying still. Everything moves to the rhythm. Gumpo is pure, exemplified brutality. And I say this with the utmost respect. Few people can convey emotion through music, but Gumpo can. And what they convey is dominant, absolute rage. Oh boy, I'm gonna need some water. My voice is going down to crap. Whew, boy. All right. Ooh. All right, let's go ahead and continue from where we left off. When the second song faded out, the crowd was exhausted. They had gone at it like I have only seen it a few times before or since. Shoving, punching and kicking like they were on a battlefield. Someone had a bloody nose, but no one paid attention to it. Not even the guy himself. The song faded out with a last cymbal crash, and the crowd exploded in cheers and shouting. Just then, the singer raised his hand. Oh boy, this is gonna be... Hmm. I think that for this one I'm just gonna get somebody else to do the voice on that one. Since they need a deep voice. So we're just gonna read the lines after that. His voice was deep, slow. His voice was deep, slow, but I think everyone in the room could hear him as clearly as if he was standing right beside them. Again, the crowd was almost totally silent. This was the usual black metal stuff I was used to hear by now. We are the Messiah. We are the Messiah of metal. Blah blah blah. It works if you're really into the band, but otherwise, well, a few months later it always just sounds pathetic, even if you were really into it. A show act. Nothing more. But the way Duka said it sounds real to me. He didn't say it for show, nor did he want to make himself understood. He just said what was important to the band, as matter of factly, as if he was reading the wiring for the setup. Kick-ass title, I thought. But I did not laugh. Nobody did. Nobody even rolled their eyes. They looked at Duka like he was a They looked at Duka like he was a demigod, speaking on behalf of something they will never understand, but that he could make them serve. Well, I have been right about one thing. Absolved by Violence was a kick-ass title. It was slower than the two that came before it, but the raw energy it exuded filled the air like pheromones. The mosh pit became almost frantical, and now there wasn't just one guy with a bloody nose, but several. People stopped helping each other up. They didn't just use their shoulders anymore, but their foreheads, hands, and elbows. I managed to dodge a particularly large guy who tried to shove me into the crush barrier, which could have easily gone wrong. Just when I got my balance back, I found myself opposite a A wall made of humans, interlocked and ready to go. I took a step back and bumped into another wall. Two walls of people, slowly withdrawing from another, leaving me stranded in between them like Moses when he parted the Red Sea. I knew a wall of death when I saw one, and I knew a wall of death when I saw one, and as I knew a wall of death when I saw one, and as I knew a wall of death when I saw one, and as absolution by violence grew slower and slower still, so too did So too did the withdrawal of those people. I felt naked, exposed, like a tree just before a lightning bolt hits it. The sudden crash of the drums and the sudden crash of the drums and the yapping of the guitar hit me just seconds before the walls did. I was crushed like an insect before two avalanches of skin, muscle, and anger. People descended on one another like barbarians, sheer anger in their eyes. All the while, Gumpo was still playing, louder and angrier than ever. Someone next to me fell and disappeared under a plethora of boots. I don't know what happened to them, and I pray to God that they're alive, but I honestly don't think so. Some were a guy screaming what obviously excruciating pain, but he was quickly drowned by the music. His cry silenced under another verse. I don't know what made me of all people keep a sober mind, but I somehow managed to get through the horde of people lashing at each other like mad and out of the club. I never went back there. From what I know, the club closed shortly after. And I will never mention its name again. Gumpo has disappeared from that scene too. For all I know, if they even existed in the first place. Maybe this was all just a bad dream, accumulated from exam-induced stress. But I can still feel where those masses ran into me. Even though it has been years. And this was today's story, Outlaw. And this was today's story, Outlaw. I hope you like it. And I might have a surprise for you regarding this story. It's been a while on the making, but it should be good. And that's 30 freaking minutes of just recording, falling down on my mouth, on my face rather, and trying to get these lines down. Whew. Okay, and I guess I could do the rest of it on my own. And I want to thank y'all, the 2 other viewers that showed up. Sadly, I was really on the zone narrating, and I forgot to say greetings to y'all and thank you for stopping by, even if it was momentarily. Okay, Outlaw. Go. You know how it goes. Y'all take care, and like always, I'll see y'all on the wasteland. Oh no. Let's rename that. Rename selected. be blank since sadly I don't have a person with the deep voice to collab with yet. Save. Yay. Right, y'all. Thank you for stopping by and take care. Bye.